Now it's just begun. Now it's just begun. And it's only for a moment. Said it's only for a moment, yeah. And now it's just begun. And now it's just begun. And it's only for a moment. Said it's only for a moment, yeah. Habari zenu watu, Wagwan, it's your brother from another motherland, Mr. Mikel, the energy, yes, coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya, with another conversation on spiritual health. This spiritual health conversation is entitled Too High to Go Hell. We are too high to go hell. You know that place of suffering, that place of continued fear, death, destruction, degradation, oppression, suppression, all kind of Essions, every Ession except from expression. Every Ession except for expression. I'm saying right now, we are too high to go hell. This conversation is a conversation on spiritual health. We are saying to ourselves today that we refuse to have anything but heaven. We got everyone tuned in. Man like Mikel just put our oath in the comment section, and that oath that goes along with our refusal to participate in anything that isn't heaven, that oath is heaven is my right and heaven is my responsibility. That's what we are saying today. Too high to go hell. Spiritual health conversation comes to you in the form of this podcast that you're experiencing right now. Also in the form of literature. There's a book coming. There is a book coming. Yeah. Also an album. There is an album coming. Yes. There is a music production coming. Yes. And experiences. Okay. I, as an artist, as a world changer, I'm dedicating myself to this conversation of spiritual health. I'm dedicating myself to this conversation, and I want to thank all of you lot for tuning in and being a part of this conversation and really helping us engage deeply on this topic, man. So big up on yourself. First, I'd like to say we have 4 spaces left, guys. 4 spaces left for our village link-up trip this December in Kenya. If you've never been to Africa before, or you've been to Africa, this trip will change your life. Why? Because our focus is not just about commercial tourism. Our focus is cultural, spiritual tourism that will connect you to Africa in a way that you will never be removed again. Yes? So, this is what our focus is. We're calling everyone within the African diaspora to Kenya for 7 days this December to come and enjoy the motherland with us. Come sit with your people from Kenya, your people from the Caribbean, US, UK, you know, and everyone else who's going to be coming through. Also, what I do, yes, in the lane of spiritual health, I do coaching one-to-one. If any of you lot would like one-to-one spiritual health coaching, you can come and DM me and we can start your spiritual health journey. If you like any of the things that I say in here, well, I can do this for you one-on-one based on your personal journey in your life. And that's what I've availed myself to do. And I'm taking on new clients going into the month of September. So DM me now. Yes? Yes, big up everyone tuned in. So guys, we're talking about spiritual health, man. How do we remain spiritually healthy? How do we remain spiritually healthy in a time that almost seeks to constantly put us in disarray when it comes to how we relate with ourselves? The most powerful thing, and this is why we put this oath here, because it's one of the most powerful things we can observe. Heaven is my right and heaven is my responsibility. Now, as this relates to my target audience, yes, which is the black man and black woman all around the world, yes, this relates to you in this way, in a very deep way. We cannot talk about spiritual health for the world, yes, without first addressing the spiritual deficit of black people. Why? Because the spiritual foundations of the world's religions, yes, comes out of Africa. Yes, go and do your research, go and do your history. Whether you're talking about Asia, whether you're talking about Europe, whether you're talking about no, we're not going to call it that. We're going to call it, talking about the Arab lands, yeah? All of those things stem, the root is from Africa. So I find it very interesting that the world, the world has given us all their take on spirituality. We've heard everyone's take on spirituality. We've heard everyone's take. We've heard the white man's take, the Arab man's take. We've heard who else? The Asian, the East Asian. We've heard everyone's take on spirituality. But whenever it comes to African spirituality, the world view is that it's backwards, it's primitive, it's devilish, it's dark, it's, you know, based on superstition. And I think that's quite disrespectful. You know, it's like disrespecting your parents, you know. It's quite disrespectful to talk about your origins in such a way. We cannot dismiss, you know what I'm saying? We cannot dismiss the contributions that Africa gives to the world. It's like when people want to make you, it's like when white people do their documentaries on Africa, they always want to make you and I feel like Africans are, you know, some backward savages who don't understand science, astrology, mathematics and stuff like that. That's how they pitch it to us. And that's how they sell us our spirituality. But we must see now. Now, I'm not concerned about what white people think, because what they think literally no longer matters. You know that? Yes? What white people think today no longer matters. So I don't use the bulk of this discussion to talk about the backwards thinking of the white majority. No. I use this live to put us in context with our own self. Yes? I use this live to put us in context with ourselves. Now you have the internet. Now you have your own passport. You have the freedom to put your ass on a plane and go and sit with the people of your ancestry. You have all the tools and means to compare notes of history, yes, of spirituality, of origins of things. So now it's you. The onus is on you, yes, to empower future generations. The onus is on you to change the behavior of this European way of thinking. That's on you, black man and black woman, wherever you are fixed and located. I don't care if you're in America and you've never left the soil. I don't care if you're in Africa and you're scared of your own spirituality. I don't care if you're in London and, you know, you call yourself a Caribbean person. It doesn't matter. The onus is on you and I to renature ourselves and teach the world Yes? Teach the world about who we are. Does that make sense? And meet the intellectuals at an intellectual place. Meet the academics at an academic place. Meet the creatives at a creative place. But not allowing anyone to get it twisted ever again. Does that make sense? The data is there. And the reason why I say it's our responsibility, family, is because no black person, in fact, no person can rise above the conditions of their people. Does that make sense? So there is a black condition around the world. Yes? Whether you're Mikel and you grew up in St. Louis, or whether you're Mikel and you grew up in flipping Colindale in London. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It doesn't matter. Does that make sense? All of us suffer from the same shit. Yes? The degrading view of white supremacy. It is our job to fix it. And Africa is fundamental in that. Why is Africa fundamental? Why can't I just be a black American or a black British person or a Caribbean person and not give a shit about Africa? Why? Because Africa is the origins of you. Yes? And because it's your origins, the view of Africa, yes, the world view of Africa and Africans affects you wherever you are. However much money you make, however much jewels you start to wear, whether they call you a mogul, yeah, or Fortune 500, this and that, the view of Africa and Africans will plague your life, will haunt you for you and your children. So you can be selfish and act like it won't affect you. You can die tomorrow. Your children will be affected by the world view of Africa and Africans. Does that make sense? Yes? Your children will be affected by it. And so this is why we must take responsibility for such things. Does that make sense? Yes? So, what does that look like though, practically? Practically, what does that look like? It means, and look, this isn't like a responsibility that has to be a burden. It becomes a burden when you run away from the responsibilities. But what it actually means is whatever you have cited as your passion, whatever you have cited as your you know, the thing that you are following in your life. You know, some people on here are into nutrition, some people are onto community building, some people are actors, some people are, people who are into nature and agriculture and stuff. Some people are teachers, some people are into fashion, some people want to write their own books on philosophy, so many different things. All of that stuff is beautiful and great, but what really matters, yes, is not the tools you are using, because your titles are really your tools. Titles, haha, that's funny, titles, your titles. Anyway, yeah, so your titles are your tools. But, so it doesn't matter about your title. What matters is what you are rooted in. Yes? What culture and what culture you are rooted in, and how you have natured yourself, because that will determine the outcome of your tools. Does that make sense? Many of us have used our tools to get money, acclaim, and an independent sort of success. Yes, but because it's not rooted in anything, it doesn't do much even for your own life. Does that make sense? And this is why people with money and fame and acclaim and blah 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 still do a madness, because what they're rooted in is nothing. Does that make sense? It's like I gave the example of the pretty flower that you bring into your home. You send your wife a bouquet of flowers. It's beautiful. Yes? It's useful for the time being. But when that shit withers away, it's finished. And because it's not rooted in anything, it has no chance or opportunity to be fertilized in terms of creating more or extending its life where it's cultured. Does that make sense? Yes? So it's the same with you and I. We must, whatever we want to pursue in this world, whatever we want to pursue in this life, we must be rooted and cultured in our nature. Yes? And that means going back. That means taking yourself back to the motherland, to Africa, rooting yourself in culture, in traditions. I see sister, I am the reason. Did you change your name? I swear your name was something else before. Anyway, so she said, am I initiated in Orisha or Ifa traditions? This is what she's talking about. Yes? Those kind of things. I am not. Yes? I'm not initiated in Orisha or Ifa traditions. However, it is important to go through a journey where you can root yourself in such things. I am doing that as we speak, and eventually I will speak on that in more detail. Yes, but the point is, whatever it is, it could be the beautiful thing about the motherland is every nation has their own spiritual culturing, but they're all rooted in nature. So whether you're talking about the Orishas or the Ifas or the you know, the Netaru, you know, there's so many. And that journey, again, I would say to anyone, first, if you have the privilege of knowing your African ancestry, I mean really knowing, like via your name, via your family, you got a simple line to follow. Does that make sense? If you're, however, like me, you know, or like people like you know, my African Americans, you know, who have been chopped, then you just got to go to the motherland and let the motherland speak to you. Does that make sense? I'm not in Kenya by chance. The motherland has spoken. I've traveled to many African countries, including Nigeria, Congo, Ghana, and all of these things. I'm not in Kenya by chance. Kenya has chosen me. Does that make sense? And so this is where I'm rooting myself spiritually and culturally. Yeah? And this is where I'm naturing myself again. Yes? And because of that nature, yes, I'm going to be able to bring Africa into the future. Yes, not via my intellect, but by what I'm rooted to and where I'm naturally going to. Does that make sense? Yes? You gotta understand, no one can take away your creative destiny. No one can take away the things that you have been ordained to become. But what people can remove from you is your foundations. So when you go the length and you use your life to extend the creative bounty that you've been given, it's not rooted in nothing. It's not rooted in anything. Therefore, no one benefits. And this is what I keep saying to us. The amount of black Americans who are multi-millionaires, yeah, and black Africans even, who are multi-millionaires, we should, in theory, be free. But we're not rooted. We're not interdependent. That's why with all the money that we have, it's still like, literally, it's this, throwing it into the wind. Oh, look at me, I'm rich, I enjoyed life, I did this, I did. But what are you doing? What are you building? You following me? Yes? So this is the responsibility that I feel that we have as African people, as people of the diaspora, as people who are natives, whatever your context is, this is the responsibility we have. And when I say responsibility, I don't just mean this watch this. Because I don't want you to get me twisted. Watch this. What does this shirt say? What does this say? What does this say? It doesn't say black changes. Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't say African changes. It says world changes. And it says world changes for a reason. Yes? Yeah? Because I have realized, you know when you reach a certain point in your quest, yeah? I have realized that in order to change the world, African people must know each other, must know themselves. They must be rooted in their spirituality. That is what has got the world backwards right now. I swear, like I said, I put my whole life on this. The world cannot change. We cannot be free. Yes. In practicality, we don't have peace until you and I develop an awareness of who and what and why we are. You're a very special people, African man and woman. Black man and woman, you are very special people. Very incredibly special. And I don't mean that as an ego boost. Yes, it's not an ego boost what I'm saying. I'm saying is you are the people of the earth. Does that make sense? You are the origins of the earth. You came with nature. Yes, you did. You came with nature. Does that make sense? And so as this world reverts back to nature, you too must revert back to your nature, because right now you do not operate as a natural being. We don't. Why? Because we've been cultured by people who are unnatural. Yes? So once you know that, this is why I say you should just stop arguing with white people. Why? Anyone who gets upset at white people today, something in you still expects them to change your life. Something in you still expects them to be the one that's going to glorify you. Does that make sense? Yes? Something in you expects them to come and be your savior. It's a very, very, very deep programming that we have. You can denounce white Jesus all day intellectually. You can denounce white Jesus intellectually. But just take a peek at your life. Yes? And what you confide in. What you have faith in by your actions. Not your words, by your actions. See, we talk God, but we have faith in this world. We have faith in this world. Does that make sense? You expect the world to give you your leg up. You talk about God, but you want the world to be the one to come and give you your break, your freedom, your justice, your equality. It doesn't happen like that. Yes? Do you feel what I'm saying? How do we deprogram ourselves? I like the way you lot just been coming with the questions before. It's not the question time. It's not. I'm joking. I'm really joking. Yeah. So how do we deprogram ourselves? Too high to go. It's too high to go hell, not too high to go to hell. It's too high to go hell. There's no two in the middle of that. That's too much of a mouthful already. But how do we deprogram ourselves? Again, it's about. Do you know what it is? Let me try and give some real practical advice here. No worries, man. It's all good. I want to try and give something different today. How do we deprogram ourselves? Alright, a good example is in school. Yes, I was told I had ADHD. Yes? My mum never accepted that, but in school they tried to throw that on me. In school, I was told that I'm not good at maths, that I'm not good at science. Yes? I was always good at English. Yes? Reading and writing. Okay? Now, the day I left school at 16 is when my maths and scientific journeys begun in terms of my study of such things. Yes? Through going through those processes and coming out with a degree of intelligence that I was always told I didn't have, it gave me more confidence in my own ability to direct my life. Does that make sense? Yes? So in a sense, I had deprogrammed from the constant statements, right? Or points of views that were associated with my person. Does that make sense? Okay? 1. 2. I'll give you another one. I grew up eating meat, the best kind of meat, yeah? Cereal, milk, chocolates, sweeties, and for the life of me, that was normal life. There was nothing in my environment that contradicted that way of life. Nothing. Yes? So therefore, as a teenager, getting spots was a normal way of life. Because they said, oh, you're a teenager, you get spots now. Does that make sense? Or going through certain processes was a normal way of life. When I changed my diet, yes, and I started to see that constipation was not there anymore. Spots and zits on my face was not there anymore. Sickness, illness, common colds were not there anymore. That gave me confidence in a new program. Does that make sense? So it's less of a deprogram, yes, and more of a reprogram, as Mikel says. Reprogramming yourself to your nature, to the truth. It's a process of taking small liberties and observing. I'm actually a better person after doing that. This actually complements me more. I'm going to do more of this new thing. Does that make sense? Yeah? That is how you reprogram yourself. Now, reprogramming is both intellectual, is both nutrition, is both your emotional operation. Does that make sense? It's everything. Yes? And part of that reprogramming, yes, is putting yourself in new environments. Does that make sense? I grew up in concrete jungle London, yeah? And so I have never, and this is odd for Africans, but like I've never seen an avocado or a banana on a tree. Does that make sense? But then seeing people live with that and watching those things grow reprograms your perspective on food, your relationship with nature, your responsibility to nature. These are all processes of reprogramming yourself. Does that make sense? I tried to give more of a practical perspective or on that answer. Does that make sense? I'm going to read through some of you lot's comments. It's absolutely about diving deep. It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone. Aligning yourself with where you want to be, who you want to be, why you want to be. That's a powerful thing that Mikel said. The reason why that's so powerful is because the only thing I've ever wanted in my life was freedom. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? I've always wanted to be free. So I've always questioned why I'm not free. Yes? And that genuine question that I would put in my music or in my pursuits is what led me to change my diet. Yes? When I opened up a book called Nutricide by Layla Africa, if you've never heard of that book, Google it, go get it. It's called Nutricide, yes? My mum had that book laying around, and I used to read the book just casually, just open up the book, and it would say things like, black men and women, when they reach 40, 45, by the way they eat, will suffer from cancer, diabetes, heart failure, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, both my granddads, I never knew them because of cancer. My uncle, my dad's older brother, has diabetes. My dad gets his blood pressure checked every week. This book is telling me by the time I'm 40, I'm going to be just like them. The rebel in me. The rebel. I felt like someone was pointing at me saying, yeah, you love oxtail, chicken, rice, sugar, cake, and all of these alcohol. Cancer and diabetes is coming for you, Mikel. I was like, are you dumb, blood? So that was a challenge to me. Yeah? Because I wanted to be the ruler of my life. That was a challenge to me saying, no, let me see if I can just delete these things. Yeah? And so it's definitely about where you see yourself. Yes? And where you are, your life is moving towards. Absolutely. That is a huge factor in it. Yeah? Okay. What's your take on the Amazon rainforest? I'm sorry, I gotta read it like Michael. Brother, what's your take on the Amazon rainforest? You know what I'm saying? Forest. It's a forest. It's a forest. It's not a forest. It's a forest. Forest. Okay, so there's a war happening, and it is a war of the unnatural versus the natural. Yes? Or the artificial, which is even better. Yeah? And the artificial versus the natural. Yes? There are few people in this world who wish to keep this world artificial, because it represents their ability to control. Yes? The only way a world as abundant as this can be controlled by a few people, yes, is by it being artificial. The more you corrupt the natural, is the more you can control the natural. Does that make sense? Nature has its natural course. Yes? And humans have the ability to change and corrupt nature to suit their human desires. I've said this time and time again. The only war that is happening right now is the unnatural versus the natural. This is why I say all of us are being called, black, white, Asian and other persuasions, yes, are being called to answer this big question. You who cry for a healthy world, you who bawl for an equal world, this is what it's going to take. Are you up for the challenge of naturing yourself so that equality can be a way of life? Nature has already determined everything different and everything equal, everything balanced. We have been corrupted to be unnatural, artificial. In our artificial nurturing, we have all stepped back and say, this is how I'm not supposed to be as a man. I'm not supposed to be abusing my woman. I'm not supposed to be, you know, wanting to suppress people. I'm not supposed to want to kill my brother. I'm not supposed to want to win at the expense of someone else. We're saying, this is not how I'm supposed to be as a woman. I'm not supposed to hate my womb. I'm not supposed to hate my spiritual nature as a woman. Does that make sense? We're saying these things to ourselves. White people are even saying to themselves today, this is not how I want to be as a human being. What has been represented of me out there as a white man or a white woman, I don't agree with. Everyone is coming out now and saying, I want to be my natural self. So the war is not with each other. That's why I always say, the war is not man versus woman. So-called gay versus so-called straight. Yes? Black versus white. That's not the war. The war is artificial versus natural. Does that make sense? That's the only war right now. What's happening in the Amazon forest, yes? Which has been said, I don't know. Yes? But it doesn't even matter whether it's a natural occurrence, which it's not. Because even it being a natural occurrence, nature doesn't do that. Nature does not do that. So it's got to be an artificial occurrence. Yes? Yes? So it's an artificial occurrence. Yes? We're running out of time. We have to decide. Truly decide. Who are we? Who are we going to be? Are we going to allow the unnatural ones to control and run us? Or are we going to stand up as natural people? Yes? And tell the minority group, the true minority group, yes? Which is the one that has us by the throat, which is the one that has you thinking you need their money, their system, their shit technology. Does that make sense? That's the one that we can't escape. Now we're being asked, can you escape the devil? This is the judgment day we've all been talking about. It's the judgment day you've been reading about. The world is fucked. Me and you are fucked. And now we have an opportunity, because of the technology, because of the spiritual time that we're in, we have an opportunity to change things. And both black, white, Asian and all other persuasions are all doing their best to change it. We are. You got to decide which side you're on. And that's my take on the Amazon rainforest. Okay, let's get some other questions going on. Boom. Where do you source your knowledge from? I'm gonna give you like the most cliche answer. God! Real talk though. But I don't mean that like, oh, I'm just being dumb. Well, I am. That's also very true. I'll say this, and nothing I say on this live has been premeditated. I press live, I sing my song, and then we talk. Yes? But this is, you know, knowledge. You gotta understand that you are a book. Yes? The same way you open up a book and you read chapters, you can read your life exactly the same. When you relate with life, if you're someone who constantly brings their experiences back to themselves, you will gain a lot of wisdom. You will gain a lot of wisdom. Every time you blame something on someone else, or you be like, that's just them, that's all their fault, this is all that, you miss out on gaining supreme wisdom. Yes? Does that make sense? Everything that I do, everyone I engage with, I don't care if I'm sitting in a mosque in Brixton or I'm flipping whining on a girl in Nairobi in the back of the club. We just I'm doing this on my whole life. That's why I can talk so openly and freely. Because I'm deep in my whole life like this, like it's a book. I'm reading every situation and doing my homework on it. And that's when knowledge comes from pursuing understanding yourself. Now, I do read books, but the books that I read are not necessarily anything to do with some of the things I talk about. But yes, over the years I've read loads of different books, but none of my knowledge comes from a specific book, a specific category of thought, a specific blah blah blah. That's why I can talk about many different things, because it's actually all to do with the way I'm relating with life. I hope that makes sense. So, more questions. Let me see. Yes, you have to believe in yourself, man. Like, remember, humans made books. So you're the greatest book there ever is. The Quran was written by men. Bible by men. Torah by men. Yes? The Alchemist was written by a man. Yeah? So it's all you. How do you stay true to yourself and your beliefs when society forces you to live away? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, watch this. I like picking apart things. So we're gonna look up this word, society, because I think that's the operative word in your statement. Society means the aggregate of people living together in a more or less ordered community. Yes? The aggregate of people living together in more or less ordered community. The community of people living in a particular country. Yo, see what I'm doing with you lot. This is gonna link to the question before. This is how I get my knowledge. I think of a question like that. That's a genuine question by Lulu. Yeah? How do you stay true to yourself in a society when you're and your beliefs when a society forces you to live away? Then I start to think about what I just said, and then I do what I just did. I'm literally taking you through how I come up with things. I go and look at words and break them down. Society, the community of people living in a particular country or region and having shared customs, laws, and organizations. The answer is in that definition. Does that make sense? Before I break it down, I just want to know if Lulu can derive the answer, because I think that would be more powerful than me saying the answer. What would be more powerful is if you got the answer from that definition. Yeah? How do you stay true to yourself and your beliefs when society forces you to live away? Society is the community of people living in a particular country or region having shared customs. Yes? So what you realize is you don't share the customs of the society. What must you do? Get the fuck out! You know what I'm saying? Yes! You move! You move! You move with the intention of being around those who innately understand your customs. Yes? And it's not, also moving is a very physical thing. But what you got to understand is, yes? What you got to understand is, it's about yourself. Yes? Meaning, like, there's some things, see, some parts of your customs don't fit in with the UK, for example, yes? And your beliefs, yes? But if you come to Africa and you realize that there are other things about your customs and beliefs that are challenged in Africa. Does that make sense? You know when they say you can't serve two masters? So you might be too natural for the UK or US, but when you come Africa in certain, and you really root yourself, you might be too artificial. And you have to go through a system of reprogramming your artificial self back to nature. This is what we're talking about. This is how you stay true. So how I've done it, the first thing I did, I grew up on the ends, and where my closest friends as a child grew up and, got into gang life and stuff. I knew that I didn't want to be a part of that, so I had to rip myself from my friends. It meant I had to be a loner for a very long time, But then I started to put myself around communities of people who thought like me, who lived like me, who saw each other the same way, who respected each other as black people, who wanted to empower, whose life was dedicated to empowerment. And I was in that community and built that community around myself for years, until I reached a point where I realized, family, this is beautiful, but we're now moving to the age where we're having children. And I don't think that, the meetups and the connections that we have and the collaboration that we're doing is beautiful, but I don't think it's enough to build a nation on. It's not enough to change our children's lives. And I refuse to be another generation of righteous people who fuck up their children with knowledge and no substance to build on that knowledge. Hence, I moved to Africa. Yes, I've moved to Africa, and I'm now nurturing myself within the standards of society where I'm no longer black, I'm just human. So now I can focus on the other things. I don't have to fight for my blackness in Africa, I'm just human. So now, we spend 85, and that's a modest guess, we spend 80 to 90% of our time just fighting for our humanity in America and England and other European countries. We spend 80% of our time showing why being black is okay. I'm done with that. Hence why I'm in Africa. Now, I'm bringing my community over here. You see? You see what I'm doing? I'm giving you my game. I'm bringing my community to Africa. So we can take all of that, the hub, because we have such a beautiful community in London of conscious people, people who know about nutrition, people who know about education, people who've done their scholarship in, in natural living, healthy living, the black diet, the black consciousness, awareness. We've had so much time to compare cultures of those of us who are Jamaican with Nigerians and Ghanaians and Ethiopians, and you know what I'm saying? We've done so much of that. Now it's time to bring it back home where it's going to connect with nature and fuck. Do you understand what I'm fucking saying? Do you understand? It's time. That's what it's time to do. Yes, that's what it's time to do. Lulu's Kitchen. I don't know you, but since you got kitchen at the end of your name, you're in the culinary arts, I can assume. Yes. You don't even know. You don't even know how much your expertise would be valued in the motherland. You don't even realize. Yes, and I'm only using you as an example because you asked the question. But genuinely, yeah, you don't even realize how much value you have, right? You see, the beautiful thing about being born in somewhere like London is you are forced to become the master of whatever. If you're black and you want to get into an alternative industry that's not, readily employable, you have to do your freaking work. For you to run a kitchen, yes, based on nutritional fusion and culturally inclusive meals, you got to do the most. And you've got to do it at a level, yes, that satisfies Western standards. You don't even realize how valuable what you've just done is in somewhere like Africa. Does that make sense? Yes? Somewhere like Kenya has loads of vegans, but no vegan restaurant. And guess what? All the vegan pop-ups in Kenya are doing white people food. They're fucking serving tofu. Does that make sense? Or they're serving whatever. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know? That's just an example. Yes? You don't even realize. I'm gonna give you another one. Here's another gem. Yeah? I don't know where you're from, Lulu, or whatever, but I'm just gonna use this just to talk about various things. Jamaican culture is one of the biggest cultures in Kenya other than Kenyan culture. There is no Jamaican restaurant. None. Zilch. You can't buy a patty or a piece of jerk chicken. Does that make sense? Now, how many freaking Jamaican restaurants are in London? Yeah, you walk into any black area, on one strip, there's about 7 Caribbean restaurants. How many Caribbean restaurants are in Brixton? Do you get what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? We're all fighting to compete with the other Jamaican restaurant down the road who's serving exactly the same food with a different title outside the shop. We don't realize there's a freaking there's a landscape. Yes. I did the statistics. What's the land? Let's do this again. Land mass of Africa. We're doing work right now. Yeah? Yeah? The landmass of Africa, ladies and gentlemen, is 30.37 million squared kilometers. Let's do square miles. I like square miles. Land area of Africa in square miles. 11.73 million square miles is the landmass of Africa. Let's see what the land area of the UK is. I'm not even going to do London. I'm just going to do UK, and you could do London yourself, because most of us don't leave London anyway. Yeah? The landmass of the entire UK is 93,000 square miles. 93,000 square miles of English landmass versus 11.3 million square miles of African landmass. And you're fighting for London. Let me do London, yeah, just to piss you lot off a bit. London in square miles. No, I'm gonna let you lot do that one yourself. That is shameful. And we're fighting for that. We're all fighting for pop-ups in the same area when there are countries that need your franchise. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. And it's only our thinking that gets in the way of such things. Does that make sense? And food is just one industry that is so underwhelming. Let me stop this again. Name me an African restaurant. I'm getting pissed off. Look, I'm getting a countdown, and I got so much to talk about. Name me an African restaurant. Go. Name me one. Name me an African franchise out of Africa. Go. Not Nando's. Exactly. You can't. You can't. But we all know Benny Hunters. We all know flipping TGI Fridays. We all know flipping... What's the other place? What's these other... Vapiano's. Yeah, we all know all of these damn... Adowa's Kitchen. Where is Adowa's Kitchen? I'm not talking about African restaurants in London, because we all know a lot of those. Adowa's Kitchen, I ain't seen that. Yeah? So, no, you look... I'm talking about a franchise out of Africa, not Africans in London doing their thing. I can name you 20 million African restaurants in Africa, in London. I can name you 20 million Caribbean restaurants in London. My point, an African franchise at the level of Nando's. There is none. It's coming. There is none. Yes? So, my point is, that's how you stay true to yourself. Oh, I'm getting a 30-second countdown. And I've got so many more questions. Damn! We're gonna have to continue this another day because I got a meeting to go to just now. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I love you so much, like genuinely. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Peace in, love out. Holla at your boy. Hey!